If it were not for God's mercy in choosing to reveal what is to come through this experience, we would have been completely unprepared for what is coming. But God says in His Word, Amos 3:7, that He does nothing without first revealing it to His servants, the prophets. This experience is one of such revelations. Anyone who stays until the end will have every reason to appreciate God, for this is God's way of saying, I want you to be exempted. Beloved, you won't regret watching this experience, for it will equip you for the future. In the next few seconds, tell us where you are watching from, so that we can keep you in our prayers. I will now begin sharing today's experience. My name is Harrison Jafate. I am a soldier. I have served my country for 12 years. I grew up in a Christian home. My mother was a pastor's daughter. My father was a good man who believed in doing right, but somewhere between childhood and becoming a soldier, I lost my way. Not completely lost, but lost enough. I went to church on holidays. I prayed when things got bad. I believed in God in the way that a person believes the sun is real, but does not spend much time thinking about it. It was there. It was real. But it was not the center of my life. My career was the center. My reputation was the center. My strength and my capability were the center. I served in the Army as a combat engineer. I was good at my job. I was respected by the men under my command. I trained hard. I stayed in shape. I lived by the code that soldiers live by. But I lived without the urgency that comes from truly knowing Jesus. That changed on the 14th of March, 2026. We had our morning training like we always did. Physical training. It was early, still dark outside. The kind of cold that gets into your bones. 5 in the morning. We were running, doing exercises, pushing hard like we do every single morning. These trainings are brutal. They are supposed to be. They break you down and build you back up stronger. That morning felt normal. I felt good. Strong. My heart was pumping hard. Sweat was pouring down my face even in the cold air. I was leading my unit. We were pushing them to their limits. We were halfway through our run when it happened. I felt something wrong inside my chest. Not pain exactly, but something. A pressure, a tightness. I thought maybe I was pushing too hard that morning. I thought maybe I needed water. I had been running for 40 minutes already. But then the pressure became pain. Real pain, crushing pain. The kind that takes your breath away. It felt like someone was squeezing my heart in their fist and not letting go. I stopped running. The men stopped. They looked at me. They knew something was wrong because they know me. I do not stop. I do not slow down. One of the younger soldiers, Private Jackson, he said, "Sir, you okay?" I tried to answer him. I tried to tell him I just needed a minute. But I could not breathe. I could not get air into my lungs. My legs felt weak. Everything was spinning. I remember looking at his face, at all their faces, and I remember thinking this is not how this day was supposed to go. I fell to the ground. The pain was enormous now, bigger than anything I had ever felt. It was like my entire chest was on fire from the inside. I remember someone calling for a medic. I remember Jackson kneeling down next to me. I remember the sound of running footsteps. And then everything went black. But here's the strange thing. I was not gone. My body was on the ground. The medics were working on me, doing CPR, trying to bring me back. But I was not in my body anymore. I could see it all happening. I could see my body lying on the cold ground. I could see Jackson's face looking down at my face. I could see the blood around my mouth. I could see the way his hands were shaking as he tried to help. And I felt nothing but calm. No fear, no panic, just a strange kind of peace. I rose up. It is the only way to describe it. I rose up away from my body like a feather lifting off the ground. And as I rose, I could see everything. I could see the entire training ground below me. I could see the base. I could see the soldiers all running around me trying to save my life. And I knew they were not going to save me. I knew I was dead. My heart had stopped. It had failed completely. A man who was 42 years old, who was in the best shape of his life, who had served his country faithfully. My heart just stopped working. I should have been terrified. But I was not. There was something different about being dead. It was like I was finally awake for the first time in my life. Everything was more real than real. Colors were brighter. Sound was clearer. Even though I did not have ears anymore, I could hear. I could hear better than I had ever heard. I could feel without a body. I could see without eyes. Everything was more alive, more present, more true than anything I had experienced on earth. Then I saw light. Not harsh light, not blinding light. Light that was warm and alive and filled with something I cannot find the right words for. Welcoming light. Light that knew me. Light that loved me. And as I moved toward this light, I felt myself being pulled forward by something that was not a force but more like a calling. Like the light was calling my name and I could not help but move toward it. That is when I saw him. Jesus. It was him. I knew it immediately. Not because of what I had been taught in churches as a boy, but because I knew him. The way you know someone you have always known, even if you just met them. His face was kind. His eyes were deep and full of something that looked like sadness and joy at the same time. But what struck me most was how different he looked from what I had imagined. I was raised seeing pictures of Jesus, paintings in churches, statues, Jesus with long brown hair, pale skin, looking peaceful and gentle and almost weak in a way. That is not what I saw. The person standing before me was strong, incredibly strong. You could see the strength in his shoulders, in his arms, in the way he stood. He looked like a man who had worked with his hands his whole life. A carpenter's hands, strong hands, capable hands. His hair was not the soft brown I expected. It was darker, almost black, and it was long, yes, but it was coarse-looking, Middle Eastern-looking. His skin was dark, not black, but dark olive, the color of someone who had lived in a hot country his entire life, who had worked in the sun. He had a beard, thick and full. He looked like a real man, a strong man, a man who could command soldiers, a man who could turn over tables in a temple, a man who could walk through deserts and survive. He did not look weak. He looked like the strongest person I had ever seen. His clothes were simple, not fancy, not what I expected. Just a simple robe, plain colored. His feet were calloused. Everything about him said he had been a working man, a real man. Not the gentle, almost fragile-looking figure I had been shown my whole life in pictures. But the most shocking thing was his presence, the way he made me feel just by being near him. There was authority in his presence. There was power. But there was also something that made me completely safe, completely accepted. It was like in his presence, all the things I had done wrong in my life, all the times I had turned away from him, all the failures, all the selfishness, it was all already forgiven. Not because he said it out loud, but because I could feel it. I could feel his love like it was a physical thing. He looked at me for what felt like a very long time. He looked at me the way my father used to look at me when I did something wrong. But he loved me anyway. He said my name. He revealed to me what I had come to understand in my life. He showed me the times I had run from him. He showed me the times I had called out to him, and he had answered, even when I did not realize it. He showed me all the small moments of grace in my life that I had ignored because I was too focused on making my name, on making my reputation, on making myself strong. And he showed me something else. He revealed to me that this was not my time to stay in eternity yet. He told me that I still had work to do on earth. There was something I needed to tell people. There was something coming that people needed to know about. There was a purpose for sending me back. And then he told me what that purpose was. He revealed to me the future, not just my future, but the future of the entire world. And what he showed me broke my heart and filled me with urgency all at the same time. He moved his hand and the space around us changed completely. We were no longer in the place of light. We were standing above the earth, looking down at the whole world. It was night on one side and day on the other side. Billions of people moving around, living their lives, working, sleeping, fighting, loving. And Jesus showed me what was coming. He revealed to me that on April 21st, 2026, the spiritual world would become visible to human eyes. This is not something that would happen slowly. This is not something that would be hidden or secret. This would happen everywhere at the same time. Every person on earth, no matter where they were, no matter what they were doing, they would suddenly see the spiritual reality that has always been there, but has been hidden from human eyes. He showed me how it would happen. At a specific moment in time, a moment that would be coordinated across the entire world, the barrier between the physical world and the spiritual world would thin completely. People would be walking around in their cities, in their homes, in their workplaces, and suddenly they would see things. They would see angels. They would see demons. They would see the reality of spiritual warfare that has been happening all around them their entire lives, but they have never been able to perceive it. I watched in the vision as this happened. People in New York City stopped in the streets. People in Tokyo looked up from their phones. People in London stepped out of their buildings. People in every city, every village, every remote place on earth felt something change in the air. And then they saw it. The spiritual world became visible. The veil was lifted. He showed me how the sky would fill with angels, not in some poetic way, but literally. Angels appearing in the sky above cities. Some of them were enormous, with wings that stretched across the sky. Others were smaller, moving among the buildings. They were beautiful beyond description, but their beauty was terrible. Not terrible like bad, but terrible like overwhelming. Like something so big and so powerful and so real that it would make anyone who saw it stop everything they were doing and just look. People fell to their knees everywhere. Governments halted. Cars stopped in the streets. Everyone just looked up and saw the angels. And Jesus revealed to me that people would know without any doubt that these were real. Not hallucinations, not tricks, not the devil deceiving them. These were real angels, the very servants of God that have been watching over the earth since the beginning of time. And suddenly, everyone would know they were real. Everyone would know that God was real. Everyone would know that the spiritual world was just as real as the physical world around them. But this revelation would bring confusion and fear. Many people would be terrified. The angels were not there to harm anyone, but their presence was so powerful, so overwhelming, that fear would grip the hearts of many. Jesus showed me how some people would fall down and worship. Some would try to run and hide. Some would refuse to believe what they were seeing even while they were seeing it. And I understood from what he showed me that this was the announcement. This was God's way of saying to the entire world, I am here. I am real. And what is happening next is happening because I have allowed it, because the time has come. The vision shifted, and he showed me the massive revival that would begin immediately after this event. It was not something that happened weeks later or months later. It began immediately. Within hours of the spiritual world becoming visible, people all over the earth began to seek God with a desperation they had never felt before. Suddenly, the things they had thought were important, the money, the fame, the pleasure, the success, none of it mattered anymore because they had seen the reality of eternity. Churches were packed, completely packed, not just Christian churches, but places where people gathered to pray, to seek God, to understand what was happening. People who had been atheists for their entire lives were on their knees calling out to Jesus. People who had practiced other religions were asking questions. People who had been nominal Christians, people like I had been, people who had believed in God but did not live for him. People were suddenly making the decision to actually give their lives to Jesus. Jesus revealed to me the nature of this revival. It would be powerful. It would be real. The Holy Spirit would move in a way that would be undeniable. People would feel conviction of their sins. They would feel the presence of God. They would be changed instantly and completely. Some of them would be weeping so hard they could not stand. Others would fall to the ground, overcome by the presence of God. Still others would begin to speak in languages they had never learned. The gifts of the Spirit would be operating openly and powerfully everywhere. The revival would reach every nation. It would reach tribes in the Amazon that had never heard of Jesus before. It would reach people in closed countries where Christianity was forbidden. It would reach them through dreams, through visions, through angelic encounters. Everyone on earth would have an opportunity to know Jesus and to choose him or to reject him. The barrier would be gone. The spiritual would be as visible as the physical. I watched in the vision as billions of people gave their lives to Christ. Families who had been separated by different beliefs were reunited in faith. Communities were transformed. Prisons were affected. Hospitals were healed. It was like what I had read about in the book of Acts, when thousands of people were converted in a single day. But this was happening everywhere at once, across the entire world, over the course of days and weeks. But Jesus also showed me that not everyone would choose him. Some people would see the angels and reject them. Some would see the power of God and harden their hearts. Some would decide that they would rather run and hide or fight against God than submit to him. And that would be their choice. He could not force anyone to love him. He could not force anyone to believe. So even in the midst of the greatest revival the world has ever known, there would be people who would choose darkness instead of light. The vision continued, and he showed me the miracles that would follow the revival. Miracles that would be undeniable and public. Healings that no one could explain. A person with no legs would suddenly stand up and walk. Someone who was blind would see. A person with cancer would be completely healed. Someone who was deaf would hear. These would happen not in secret, but in public places where everyone could see. Hospitals would be affected. The sick would be healed by the power of God through the prayer of believers. Jesus revealed to me that these miracles would serve a purpose. They would be a sign to people that God was real and that his kingdom was truly here. They would turn people's attention away from earthly things and toward heavenly things. They would show the power of Jesus over sickness and disease and death itself. They would prove that what the believers were saying was true, that Jesus was alive, that he had conquered death, that he had power over all things. I watched in the vision as the blind saw, as the lame walked, as the deaf heard, as the dead were raised. I saw children brought back to life. I saw people who had been in comas for years wake up and speak clearly. I saw cancer disappear from bodies in an instant. I saw the power of God flowing through human beings like electricity, and I understood that this was how God wanted to show his love, not just through words, but through actions, through power, through the demonstration of his kingdom in the earthly realm. But the vision shifted again, and the tone became darker. Jesus showed me that immediately following this revival and these miracles, persecution would begin. Intense persecution. Persecution unlike anything that believers had experienced in modern times, at least not in Western countries. This was something that Christians in other parts of the world had experienced for centuries. But it was coming to the places where the gospel had been freely preached and believed. Jesus revealed to me that governments would begin to fear the power of believers. They would see that their control was slipping away. They would see that people were no longer listening to them, no longer trusting them, no longer relying on them for security and safety. Instead, people were looking to God, and governments do not like it when their power is questioned, so they would begin to fight back. Laws would be passed making Christian gatherings illegal in some places. People would be arrested for preaching the gospel. Believers would be fired from their jobs for refusing to deny their faith. Families would be torn apart as some members tried to protect their lives, and others chose to stand for Jesus no matter the cost. Children would be taken from their parents in some places, because the governments decided that teaching them Christianity was child abuse. The persecution would not be random. It would be systematic. It would be coordinated. It would be designed to break the faith of believers and to separate them from each other. Some believers would be imprisoned. Some would be tortured. Some would be executed. Jesus showed me scenes of believers being dragged from their homes, believers being questioned and beaten for refusing to renounce their faith, believers being separated from their families. But in the middle of all this darkness, Jesus showed me something important. He revealed that his people would not be left alone. He would protect them, not by preventing the persecution, but by giving them strength to endure it, by giving them joy even in the midst of suffering, by making their faith unbreakable. The believers who truly belonged to him would not fall away no matter what was done to them. I saw in the vision believers standing before judges and refusing to deny Jesus. I saw their faces full of peace even though they knew they would be imprisoned. I saw them singing in prison. I saw them comforting other believers. I saw them remaining faithful even when it would have been so easy to just agree with their persecutors and save themselves. And Jesus showed me that these believers were the ones who truly knew him. These were the ones who would be rewarded in eternity. The final part of what Jesus revealed to me was about the economic collapse that would happen during this time. He showed me that the financial systems of the world would fail, not slowly, not in a way that could be managed, but completely and suddenly. Banks would close, currencies would become worthless. People who had their security in money and possessions would find that their security had vanished overnight. Jesus revealed to me that this collapse would be designed to humble humanity. For centuries, people had trusted in money instead of God. They had worked themselves to exhaustion trying to accumulate wealth. They had made decisions that hurt other people just to get more money. They had sacrificed their relationships, their health, their peace, for the pursuit of material things. And God was allowing all of that to be taken away. I watched in the vision as the economic systems failed. Stock markets crashed. Cryptocurrency became worthless. Banks that had been trusted for 100 years closed their doors. People who had thought they were secure found that their life savings were gone. Businesses that had been operating for decades shut down. Unemployment skyrocketed. People who had never experienced poverty suddenly had nothing. But Jesus showed me the contrast. The believers who had learned to trust in God instead of money would be fine. They would have enough. God would provide for them. They would eat when others were hungry. They would have shelter when others were homeless. They would have peace when others were in panic. Jesus revealed to me that this was a test. It was a test to see who truly trusted him and who only trusted him when things were going well. It was a test to see whose hearts were fixed on heaven and whose hearts were fixed on earth. It was a test that would separate those whose faith was genuine from those whose faith was only for comfort and convenience. The vision showed me the complete upheaval of human society. The systems that had seemed so permanent, so unbreakable, would be broken. The governments would fail to protect people. The banks would fail to keep their money safe. The employers would fail to keep providing paychecks. Everything that people had relied on would prove to be unreliable, and the only thing that would remain solid would be faith in God. Jesus showed me that these end times events would not be random chaos. They would be purposeful. They would all be pointing toward one thing: the revealing of his kingdom, the proving that he was real, the separation of those who truly belonged to him from those who only believed in him with their minds but not with their hearts and souls. Then I felt myself being pulled back. The visions began to fade. The light started to dim. Jesus looked at me one final time, and I felt the weight of everything he had shown me settle onto my shoulders. He did not need to speak the words out loud. I understood what I was supposed to do. I understood that I was being sent back to warn people, to call them to prepare their hearts, to tell them that the time was near. The next moment, I felt my body again. I gasped for air, real air, the cold morning air. I could hear medics yelling. I could hear Jackson's voice. The pain was gone. I felt my heart beating in my chest, strong and regular, like nothing had ever been wrong with it. I opened my eyes and I was looking up at Jackson's face. His eyes were wide with shock and tears were running down his face. "Sir, oh thank God! Sir, stay with us." The medics moved in. They told me not to talk. They put me on a stretcher. They rushed me to the hospital. For 3 hours I had been declared dead. My heart had stopped completely. There was no electrical activity, no brain activity, no sign of life. And then I came back. The doctors could not explain it. They ran every test. They looked at my heart with machines that could see inside it. They found no damage, no scarring, no sign that I had ever had a heart attack. It was like my heart had simply stopped for a moment and then started again as if nothing had happened. They called it a miracle. I know it was not a miracle in the sense of my body being healed, because my body did not need healing. It was a miracle in the sense that I had been sent back. I had been allowed to come back. I have now returned to tell you what Jesus revealed to me. To every believer watching this, I need to tell you something. God is calling you to take him seriously. This is not a time for playing games with your faith. This is not a time for believing in Jesus just on Sundays. This is not a time for keeping your faith private and hidden. Jesus showed me that on April 21st, 2026, the spiritual world will become visible. This is not something that might happen. This is something that will happen in the vision I was given. It was as certain as the sunrise, as inevitable as death. But before that happens, now is the time to prepare your heart. Now is the time to surrender completely to Jesus. Now is the time to make the decision that you will follow him no matter what comes. Because when the spiritual world becomes visible, when angels appear in the sky, when the persecution begins, when the economy collapses, you will need to have already decided. You cannot make that decision at the last minute. Your faith must be settled now. Jesus told me that not everyone who calls themselves a Christian will survive what is coming. Not physically survive, but survive spiritually. Some will fall away. Some will compromise. Some will deny their faith to save their lives. But those whose hearts are truly given to Jesus will endure. They will stand firm. They will remain faithful. So I am calling you now. If you believe in Jesus, if you have given your life to him, then take him seriously. Study the Word of God, not casually, but seriously. Read the Bible every day. Let it change how you think. Let it change how you live. Spend time in prayer, real prayer. Not just asking God for things, but talking to him like he is your friend, because he is. Separate yourself from the things of this world that are holding you back from God. If there is something in your life that is pulling you away from Jesus, away from faith, away from truth, get rid of it. Do not hold on to it. It will not matter in a few months anyway. Money will not matter. Status will not matter. Comfort will not matter. Only Jesus will matter. Forgive everyone who has hurt you. Jesus showed me that unforgiveness is like a chain that binds you to the past. Let it go. Forgive. Even if the other person does not ask for forgiveness, even if they do not deserve it, forgive them because Jesus forgave you. And you need to be free from bitterness and anger because those things will hold you back when you need to stand firm. Love the people around you, not in a fake way, but really love them. Care about their souls. Care about whether they know Jesus. If they do not know him, tell them. Tell them before it is too late. Tell them, because in April their eyes will be opened and they will finally see that God is real, and they will regret that they did not listen to you when they had the chance. Prepare yourself spiritually. Find other believers who are serious about their faith and do life together. Pray together. Study the Bible together. Encourage each other. Strengthen each other, because what is coming will test your faith in ways you cannot imagine. You will need people around you who believe what you believe and who will stand with you. And if you do not yet know Jesus, if you have not given your life to him, then I am begging you, please do it now. Do not wait. Do not think you have time. Time is passing faster than you realize. In a few months, the spiritual world will become visible, and you will know without any doubt that God is real. But by then, the decision you need to make should already be made. You should already have given your heart to Jesus. Jesus loves you. I know that sounds like something you have heard 1,000 times, but I am telling you now, as someone who has seen him face to face, as someone who has felt his love directly, it is true. He loves you. He loves you so much that he died for you. He rose from the dead for you. He is waiting for you to come to him. I have one more thing to say, and this is to the intercessors, the people who pray, the people who have been called to stand in the gap between a fallen world and a holy God. This message is for you. Jesus revealed to me that the prayers of believers are more powerful than anything else happening on this earth, more powerful than governments, more powerful than technology, more powerful than armies. Prayer is the weapon that changes history. Prayer is the way that believers fight in this spiritual battle. And he is calling for intercessors to rise up now, not later, now. Before April 21st, before the revival, before the persecution, before the collapse, now. He showed me that believers who give themselves to prayer during these next few months will be doing the most important work on earth. Through your prayers, people will be saved. Through your prayers, evil plans will be stopped. Through your prayers, believers will be protected. Through your prayers, the coming events will unfold exactly as God has planned. I am calling you to commit yourself to prayer. Not just prayer at the beginning and end of the day, but real prayer. Extended time before God, hours of intercession, praying for nations, praying for leaders, praying for the church, praying for unbelievers, praying for strength in the coming tribulation, praying that believers will stand firm, praying that God's will would be done on earth. Find other intercessors and pray together. Unite in prayer. Form prayer groups, prayer chains, prayer vigils. Pray through the night. Pray until you hear from God. Pray with such passion and conviction that you shake the spiritual realm. This is not a time for lazy prayer. This is not a time for prayers that are half-hearted or distracted. God is looking for people who will lay down their lives in prayer, people who will sacrifice their time, their comfort, their sleep, their convenience to intercede for others. If you are one of these people, then I am calling you to step up. The world needs you now. The church needs you now. God is calling for intercessors to rise. I do not know what life will look like for me after sharing this testimony. I do not know if there will be consequences. I do not know if people will believe me or mock me or ignore me. But I know what I saw. I know what I heard. I know what Jesus revealed to me, and I cannot stay silent. I was dead. I was in the presence of God. I saw Jesus with my own eyes. I received visions of the future. And I was sent back to tell you. The time is short. April 21st, 2026 is coming. The spiritual world will become visible. Angels will appear. A revival will begin. Persecution will follow. The economy will collapse. End times events will unfold. But before all of that happens, God is offering you a choice. Choose Him now. Give your heart to Jesus now. Prepare yourself now. Pray now. Stand firm now. Because when those events begin, you will know that everything I have told you is true. You will know that God is real, and you will know that the only thing that matters is your relationship with Jesus Christ. May God bless you and guide you and strengthen you in the days ahead. The time is now, brothers and sisters, believers in Christ. The time is truly now. Do not delay. Do not put off what your spirit is telling you to do. If you have been lukewarm in your faith, become hot. If you have been divided in your loyalty between Jesus and the world, choose Jesus completely. If you have been complacent, become urgent. To those who do not yet know Jesus, I am asking you to reconsider. Forget everything you think you know about Christianity. Forget every bad experience you have had. Forget every judgment you have felt. Just look at Jesus. Look at His love. Look at His power. Look at His willingness to save anyone who comes to Him. Stand for each other. Support each other. Love each other. The days ahead will require unity. They will require believers to lock arms and stand together against the darkness. Start now. Build those relationships now. And to the intercessors, I am begging you, rise up. Pray like you have never prayed before. The spiritual battle depends on it. The souls of millions depend on it. God is calling for you. The time is now. The moment is here. Please do not wait.